The smell of burnt beans and sweat filled the air as metal trays went flying. In seconds, the San Quentin Chow Hall, one of the most dangerous rooms in America's oldest prison, exploded into chaos. Fists slammed. Food splattered across walls. A man screamed as boiling soup was thrown across the table. Guards rushed in, batons raised, alarms blaring through the deafening roar. And in the middle of it all stood Reggie Stone Carter, clutching a wooden spoon like a weapon. The same man who once preached peace on the prison yard was now at the center of a full-blown food riot. But how did a prison preacher become the face of one of San Quentin's most shocking outbursts? And what pushed a man of faith into the middle of violence, fear, and betrayal? To understand that, we have to go back, before the chaos, before the boiling soup, before Reggie became Stone. The year was 2013. The morning air outside San Quentin carried a fog that wrapped the prison in gray silence. New inmates arrived in chains, their eyes wide with fear and confusion. Reggie Carter was one of them. 28 years old, convicted of armed robbery, but deep down, he wasn't a hardened criminal. He was a scared man who made one wrong move trying to survive the streets of Oakland. As the prison gates slammed shut behind him, Reggie felt the sound vibrate through his chest. It wasn't just the sound of metal. It was the sound of a life ending and a new one beginning. Inside, the guards barked orders. Strip down. Face the wall. No talking. He did as he was told. His clothes were replaced with a faded orange jumpsuit, and his name was swapped for a number, #Q, 94821. From that moment, Reggie wasn't a man anymore. He was property of San Quentin State Prison. Days turned into weeks. He learned the rules of survival. Never sit at the wrong table. Never take someone else's seat. And above all, never show fear. But Reggie couldn't help it. Every day felt like walking on a wire over fire. One wrong step, and you're done. Still, he tried to stay out of trouble. He cleaned floors, kept quiet, and read the Bible that his mother sent him. Then one night, things changed. The lights went out early. The yard fell silent. And from the far end of the cell block, a scream echoed. Someone was being jumped. Reggie froze, clutching his Bible tight. He could hear the dull thud of punches, the clang of boots hitting steel, and the muffled groans of a man begging for help. He wanted to yell. He wanted to call the guard. But he didn't. Because in San Quentin, snitches don't survive. That night, Reggie realized prison wasn't just about serving time. It was about surviving it. By the second month, Reggie had learned to blend in. He spoke little, listened a lot, and kept his head low. But trouble has a way of finding the quiet ones. It started in the chow hall, with something as simple as a spilled cup of milk. A large inmate known as Tank accidentally knocked Reggie's tray off the table. The milk splashed across Tank's shirt. The whole room went silent. Reggie's heart pounded. Tank turned slowly, eyes burning with rage. "You just messed up, new boy." Reggie tried to explain. "It was an accident, man." But Tank didn't want to hear it. He shoved Reggie so hard his back hit the table behind him. The inmates started cheering. They loved a good show. Then, it happened. Reggie swung first. His fist connected with Tank's jaw. The entire hall erupted. Tables flipped. Food flew. And before anyone could blink, Reggie was dragged into his first real prison fight. Guards rushed in, wrestling both men to the ground, their batons slamming against the floor. "Lockdown," someone shouted. And as Reggie was pulled away, bleeding from his lip, he saw Tank lying on the floor, knocked out cold. From that moment, everything changed. Some inmates nodded with respect. Others stared with cold eyes, calculating. Reggie had just earned a new name, Stone. Because in a place like San Quentin, if you want to survive, you have to become harder than the walls themselves. The fight with Tank earned Reggie Carter a strange kind of respect inside San Quentin. Some inmates gave him a wide berth. Others tried to recruit him. The Aryan Brotherhood watched him. The Black Guerrilla family watched him. Even the guards kept a close eye. See, San Quentin doesn't like lone wolves. You either join a pack, or you get eaten by one. But Reggie wasn't looking for a gang. He was just looking for a little peace. One quiet morning, while sweeping the chapel floor, he overheard a voice that froze him solid. It was Chaplain Morris, an older man with silver hair and a calm voice that somehow cut right through the prison noise. The chaplain was talking about forgiveness, even for those who believed they were beyond saving. For the first time in years, Reggie actually listened to someone talk about hope, and it hit him deep down. After the service, Reggie walked right up to the chaplain. "Do you really think someone like me can change?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The old man just smiled. "Son," he said, "this place breaks bones, but it can build souls if you let it." Those words stuck with Reggie. From that day on, he spent more and more time in the chapel. He read scripture, he cleaned the benches, he even started leading small prayer groups. The other inmates started calling him Preacher Stone. And for a while, a fragile peace returned to his life. That peace lasted until Derek Bones Walters showed up. Bones wasn't just another inmate. He ran half of D Block straight from his cell, drugs, protection. He even had guards in his pocket. He saw Reggie's little faith group as a direct threat to his control. One afternoon, while Reggie was reading in the chapel, Bones strolled in with two of his guys. "Stone," he said, a grin on his face that never touched his eyes. "I heard you're a preacher now. You forget where you're at, boy? This ain't no Sunday school." Reggie looked up slowly from his book. "Everybody needs something to believe in, Bones." Bones let out a cold laugh. "Yeah, and I believe you owe me respect." Then, he kicked the Bible right out of Reggie's hands. The pages scattered across the floor. The chapel went dead silent. For a long moment, Reggie said nothing. He just bent down, picking up the torn pages one by one, his hands shaking slightly. Bones leaned in close, his voice a low growl. "You either kneel to me, or I'll make you kneel." That was the day faith met fear head-on. Reggie's refusal wasn't just courage, it was a declaration of war. That night, word spread like wildfire across the yard. Bones had put a hit on Preacher Stone. Reggie didn't sleep a wink. He just sat in the dark, gripping his small Bible, whispering the words over and over. "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death." That valley suddenly felt very, very real. The next day, Reggie walked right back into the chapel. Not because he felt safe there, but because he had to show he wasn't afraid. The moment he stepped inside, he saw him. Bones was sitting in the front row, smiling like a shark. Two of his enforcers stood by the door, arms crossed, blocking the only way out. Reggie started reading from the Bible, his voice steady, pretending not to notice them. But everyone else did. The tension was so thick you could cut it with a shiv. Then came the sound of shuffling boots. One of Bones' men lunged forward and grabbed Reggie by the collar. "Preach now, preacher," he sneered, shoving him back. The chapel erupted. Benches crashed. Someone screamed. A guard outside started yelling for backup. In that split second, Reggie grabbed the heavy metal cross from the altar and swung it like a bat, striking the man square across the face. Blood splattered onto the chapel floor. Bones charged forward, but Reggie didn't back down this time. "God didn't bring me this far to die scared," he roared, throwing a punch that echoed through the holy walls. Seconds later, guards stormed in. Pepper spray filled the air, choking everyone. They dragged the fighting men apart. Reggie hit the ground, coughing, blinded, and the last thing he heard was the chaplain's voice yelling, "Enough! Stop this madness." But the madness was just beginning. Because after that day, San Quentin's most dangerous man had a new mission: to destroy Preacher Stone by any means necessary. The fight in the chapel was days ago, but peace? That was a memory. Here in San Quentin, when you embarrass a shot caller like Bones in front of everyone, there's only one way it ends. Payback. And it's never quick. It's slow, painful, and very, very public. I'm Reggie Preacher Stone Carter, and I walk this yard feeling like I have eyes in the back of my head. Every time boots shuffle on the concrete, my whole body tenses up. Every whisper I hear behind me sounds like a death sentence. Even my own crew, the guys from the faith group, they're worried. "Stone, you gotta lay low, man," one of them told me. But I just shook my head. If I start running now, I'll never stop. So I tried to stick to my routine. The workouts, the prayer circles, my quiet time on the bench. But something was off. The whole yard, it had gone quiet. Too quiet. That's never a good sign. Then, one afternoon, it happened. I was doing push-ups near the basketball court, trying to clear my head, when a shadow fell over me. I looked up. Across the yard, leaning against the fence, was Bones. He was just watching me. Next to him were two new guys, covered in ink, the kind of guys who do the dirty work no one else wants to touch. Bones gave me this slow, cold smile. He raised his hand and drew a finger straight across his throat. The message couldn't have been clearer. I was a dead man walking. That night, sleep was a luxury I couldn't afford. The rest of the tier was quiet, but my mind was racing. I sat on my bunk, wide awake, listening. Then I heard them. Footsteps in the hall. Slow. Heavy. They stopped right near my cell. A voice whispered through the bars. "You ain't gonna make it to Sunday, preacher." My heart hammered against my ribs. I grabbed my Bible, the pages worn and soft, whispering verses to myself. Anything to drown out the fear. I've survived fights. I've survived humiliation. I've survived the whole. But this was different. I was marked. And in San Quentin, once your name is on that list, it's only a matter of time. The next morning, I had to do something. I went to see Chaplain Morris. I must have looked a wreck. I know I felt it. Dark circles under my eyes, my voice shaking when I spoke. "Chaplain," I said, "I can't keep living like this. I'm trying to walk the right path, but it feels like the devil himself is breathing down my neck." Morris leaned forward, his eyes full of a wisdom that only comes from seeing too much. "Faith isn't the absence of fear, son," he told me. "It's moving forward even when that fear won't let you breathe." I nodded, the words sinking in. "Then I need to move smart," I replied. "I heard there's a transfer program for inmates doing religious work. Can you help me get on it?" The chaplain hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "I'll see what I can do." But what neither of us knew was that we weren't alone. A guard named Henderson, a guy everyone knew was on Bones' payroll, was standing just outside the door, listening to every word. And the second I left that chapel, Henderson made a call. By dinner time, the news had spread through D Block like wildfire. Stone was trying to run. That evening, the chow hall was buzzing. It was louder than usual, a nervous, electric energy in the air. I could feel dozens of eyes on me as I picked up my tray, beans, cornbread, and potatoes that were already cold. Bones was 2 tables away, whispering to his guys, a smirk on his face. I knew something was coming. I was only halfway through my meal when a voice shouted from across the room. "Yo, Stone." I turned just in time to see a metal tray flying straight for my head. It hit me hard, the impact stunning me, beans and slop exploding everywhere. The hall erupted. It was chaos. Fists were flying, trays were clattering against the floor, and guards were screaming for order. But this wasn't just a random fight. It was a setup. I saw Bones standing on a table, pointing at me, shouting, "Get him! End it now." I ducked under a wild swing, grabbed a chair for a shield, and fought back with everything I had. The room was a war zone. Food was splattered across the walls. Mashed potatoes, blood, sweat, and fear. A guard finally hit the alarm. Sirens blared. Tear gas canisters hissed, and the room filled with smoke. I could barely see. Someone had cut my shoulder. I could feel the warm blood dripping down my arm. I stumbled toward the door, gasping for air. And through the haze, I saw him. Bones. Charging straight at me. He tackled me to the ground, his weight pinning me down. His hand gripped a shiv, the metal glinting in the chaotic light. "Should have stayed quiet, preacher," he snarled, his face inches from mine. And then the blade came down. The shiv sliced downward, and for a split second, Reggie, preacher Stone, Carter felt the cold kiss of steel touch his skin. But just before the blade could sink in, a giant crash echoed through the chow hall. A guard's riot shield slammed into Bones' side, knocking him off Reggie and sending the shiv skidding across the floor. Bones roared in anger as he hit the ground, his men scrambling to pull him up. Reggie gasped for air, clutching his bleeding shoulder. His vision blurred as the hall spun in chaos. Food splattered, tables overturned, inmates shouting, guards swinging batons like clubs. Someone stepped on his hand. Someone kicked his leg. But Reggie didn't fight back. He couldn't. He was too weak. His heart thudded loudly in his ears as he tried to crawl away from the violence. Then, everything went silent. A guard fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Dust rained down. Even Bones froze. Everybody down. Now, within seconds, inmates dropped to the floor, hands over their heads. The riot was over, but the damage was done. As Reggie lay there, staring at the cracked ceiling, he could feel warm blood spreading across his jumpsuit. The taste of iron filled his mouth. His breathing turned heavy. And through the haze, he saw Chaplain Morris being dragged away by 2 guards, shouting something Reggie couldn't hear. Reggie woke up in the prison infirmary. His shoulder wrapped tightly, a sting of needles in his arm. His whole body felt like it had been hit by a truck. Nurse Patel, one of the few staff members who genuinely cared about inmates, stepped forward. "You're lucky," she said softly. "Half an inch deeper, and you wouldn't be talking right now." Reggie tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs. "What happened?" he whispered. Patel glanced at the door before answering. "Bones tried to kill you." Everyone knows it. And someone on the inside helped him. Reggie frowned. Inside? Inmate or guard? Patel lowered her voice. Both. His heart dropped. He already suspected Henderson, the guard known for taking money from Bones. But hearing it confirmed? That was worse. You need protection, Patel said. If they got to you once, they'll try again. Reggie looked away. I got no one, he muttered. No gang. No backup. The nurse stepped closer. You do have someone. Footsteps echoed. Reggie's eyes widened. Chaplain Morris walked in, carrying a folder. His face was stern, not sad, not scared, focused. Stone, he said quietly. You were attacked because someone leaked your transfer request. Someone didn't want you leaving San Quentin. Reggie swallowed hard. Bones. Morris nodded slowly. It's deeper than Bones. He opened the folder. Inside were photos, papers, reports. Reggie saw something that made his stomach twist. A guard's signature on a form that denied his transfer. A guard he thought simply disliked him. Henderson. Reggie's voice cracked. He's working for Bones. Morris closed the folder. It's not just that. Henderson is protecting the drug pipeline running through D-Block. Bones controls it. You, with your prayer groups and your influence, became a threat. Reggie leaned back, overwhelmed. So they want me gone? No, Morris said. They want you destroyed. A heavy silence filled the room. Reggie clenched his fist. He wasn't safe in the yard. He wasn't safe in the chapel. And he clearly wasn't safe among the guards. So what do? He whispered. Morris looked him in the eyes. You survive. And you fight back, but not the way they expect. Before Reggie could respond, boom. The infirmary door slammed open. 2 guards rushed in, their faces cold, expressionless. Henderson wants him moved, one said. Now. Patel stepped forward. He's not stable enough. Orders are orders. They pushed past her. Reggie felt his blood run cold. If Henderson was pulling the strings, this wasn't a medical transfer. This was a setup. The guards grabbed Reggie by the arms. He tried to resist, but he was too weak. Morris shouted, Where are you taking him? He hasn't been cleared. One guard looked back, a smirk on his face. Isolation. And the door slammed shut behind them. Reggie's heart pounded. Isolation wasn't punishment. Not this time. It was a death sentence. The corridor to isolation was always silent. No yelling, no banging, no voices. Just the hum of flickering lights and the distant buzz of electric locks. Reggie, Preacher Stone, Carter was half-conscious, his arms cuffed, head still throbbing from the riot. 2 guards led him down the hallway. Neither spoke a word. He noticed something strange. They weren't taking the usual route. Where were we going? Reggie mumbled. No reply. Just another hallway. Darker, colder, the kind of place regular inmates never saw. Finally, they stopped at a door marked C-Block storage. Reggie frowned. This ain't isolation. A guard named Henderson stepped out from the shadows, a slow smile spreading across his face. Relax, Preacher, he said quietly. We just need to have a little talk. The other guards shoved Reggie inside the room. No lights, just the faint glow from a high window. The smell of bleach and rust filled the air. Henderson closed the door behind them with a loud clang. Chains hung from the ceiling. A broken mop bucket lay in the corner. This wasn't a cell, it was a trap. Then, from the shadows, a voice. You ain't got to do this, Bones. It don't have to end this way. Bones laughed. You right. It don't. He nodded at Henderson, who handed him something. A sharpened screwdriver wrapped with tape. Reggie's pulse spiked. He knew if he didn't act now, he'd die here, and nobody would ever know the truth. Bones raised the weapon, stepping forward. You should have never brought your little faith games into my yard, Preacher. Reggie closed his eyes and whispered, Lord, if this is where I go, let me go standing. Then he moved. With one swift motion, he slammed his head forward, hitting Bones in the nose. Bones screamed, dropping the weapon. Reggie spun, drove his shoulder into Henderson, sending him crashing into the wall. He kicked the screwdriver across the floor, scrambling for it. Bones lunged. Reggie grabbed the handle first. A struggle broke out, a blur of fists, elbows, and rattling chains. Then suddenly, a loud crash. The door burst open. Chaplain Morris stood there, flanked by 2 officers. What in God's name is going on here? He shouted. Henderson froze. panic flashing across his face. Bones stumbled back, blood running from his nose. Morris pointed. "Cuff them both." Now, the honest guards rushed in. Reggie dropped to his knees, exhausted, shaking. As he looked up, his eyes met the chaplain's. "I told you to move smart," Morris said quietly. "But I didn't think they'd move faster." Reggie breathed heavily. "They were going to kill me." "I know," the chaplain replied. "That's why I followed you." A week passed. San Quentin was on edge. Guards were jumpy. Inmates whispered. And Reggie Carter sat alone in isolation, bruised, bandaged, but breathing. Word spread like wildfire. They said a guard named Henderson had been caught smuggling drugs. They said Bones had ratted him out to save himself. They said Preacher Stone was still alive. And in San Quentin, news like that doesn't stay quiet. The first fire started. A blanket, lit inside a cell, tossed into the hallway. Then another. Within minutes, the prison was burning. By morning, D-Block exploded. Reggie watched the smoke crawl under his door, coughing into his sleeve. Then, the lock clicked. The door swung open. It was Chaplain Morris. "Stone, come on," he shouted through the smoke. Reggie stumbled out into chaos. Alarms screamed. Guards ran past. Fights broke out. "Where's Bones?" Reggie yelled. "Gone," Morris shouted back. "He escaped during the riot." They pushed forward, reaching the chapel, the one place still untouched by fire. Inside, terrified inmates huddled in prayer. Reggie stepped to the front, raised his voice above the chaos, and shouted, "Everybody listen to me. We can't stop what's happening out there," he said, pointing to the smoke. "But we can stop it from happening in here. Bones wants us to destroy each other. The system wants to forget us. But not today. Today we live." One man whispered, "But how?" Reggie walked over, placing a hand on his shoulder. "By proving we still got something they can't take. Our souls." And right there, in the middle of a burning prison, Reggie Carter began to pray. Not for freedom or revenge, but for forgiveness, even for Bones. The others joined in. One voice became 5. 5 became 20. As the fire roared around them, the sound of prayer echoed through San Quentin louder than the alarms. Hours later, the chaos died down. Bones was captured 2 days later. Henderson was fired, facing charges. And Reggie was moved to a safer facility. The warden himself signed the order, noting, "Inmate Carter prevented further violence by calming prisoners during riot." The chaplain visited him one last time. "You saved lives, son," he said quietly. "Maybe even your own." Reggie smiled faintly. "Wasn't me, chaplain. It was the word." As he was led to the bus, he looked back at the gray towers of San Quentin. The place that tried to break him had become the place that built him. This is the story of survival, faith, and redemption inside America's most infamous prison. Because sometimes the strongest walls are the ones inside your mind. Thanks for watching.